You're listening to the Fitzrock Podcast, interviews where we explore the shifts and transitions of life. Here are your hosts, Keith Rock and Don Fitzsimmons. Good day, everybody. We are really excited today because we have all the way from Ireland, Johann Vesteegh. You have become an expert in social media addiction, and we want to hear all about that. So first of all, can you tell us what led you down this road?
Many years ago, I was using Facebook a lot. That was before Twitter existed, before Instagram existed or Snapchat. And I will actually use the very first smartphone that used Android. And it was back in 2010, the T-Mobile Android phone. And that was amazing. That was a novelty. And then that combined with Facebook made it easy to use the smartphone a lot. And I was using Facebook more and more. It was the novelty, posting on walls and just connecting all the time, just using Facebook. And then I had a girlfriend that really made everything worse because we couldn't always see each other. So we were using Skype a lot, but then Facebook more and more. And then it became more of a problem because what she wanted to do is she wanted to prove to others that we are in a relationship, how happy we are, how nice I am to her, how nice she is to me. So sometimes when we meet up, one time we were walking on the beach and then she was making this heart on the sand and then she was writing that J loves N for Nanda. So she wanted me to pose in front of that heart that she made. So I kneeled, she took a photo, but what she did a few hours later is that she posted that photo on Facebook saying, oh, look at what my boyfriend has made me. And he's so amazing and I love you too. So when I saw that, I thought to myself, why are you lying? I know it wasn't me, it was you. But why do you want to prove that we are happy or that we're in a relationship? So then more and more, I told her, let's just go to Skype. Forget about Facebook. Let's not chat in the Facebook chat. There was no Messenger back then. But she really wanted to stay on Facebook. And then she wanted me to post more and more on her Facebook wall saying, hey, where's my post? Where's my quote? Where's my heart? Where's my nice picture? And then I spent so much time on Facebook and it just annoyed me. In the beginning, it was like nice. It was a novelty. But then it just annoyed me. And then I really wondered, like, why are we finding this whole Facebook, this whole concept of social media so important? Why can't we just communicate just face-to-face or through Skype? Back then, it was no WhatsApp yet. So, but then she really wanted to use social media. And then I started to work on other projects because I thought to myself, I'm wasting too much time. You want to build something, you want to become more productive. So I was thinking to build a website, but that takes time, that takes research. And then when I was focusing more and more on the research, on the producing, then she became more annoyed. And she was like, Johann, where are you? You know, I miss you on Facebook. And then, we eventually broke up. But then many years later, I noticed that now everything has changed. A lot has changed because Facebook went to the stock market. And since then, it all changed because they really now had to focus on making money. That's the question that they need to ask themselves. Like, how can we make money now that people are using Facebook? So then they came with the scrolling and many other features that they introduced on Facebook, Instagram as well, Twitter as well, Snapchat as well. And now you see so many people immersed in their screens. Smartphones became much more sophisticated. And I always wanted to do something in the self-development industry. And I thought to myself, well, Johann, what really annoyed you? And that was social media. Phones. I was on my phone all the time, on social media all the time. And I thought, well, this topic is escalating. It's like kind of exploding. So I thought, let me now dig in this topic and try and assist and help people who think they're just too much on their screens, who are on social media too much, or just reading the news too much, or gaming too much on their screens. And that's how I started to learn more about this whole topic and to help people.
So, and I assume you're one of the pioneers in this, so there probably wasn't like a course you could take. So how did you do your research? How did you educate yourself?
There were a few books already back in 2011. Those books were the ones I read. But true, I started 2018 officially, but there were not many players yet. But now on Twitter, you see many of them. So it becomes more and more popular, like a digital wellness coach or digital well-being coach. So I started to, well, I'm using my own experience, read a lot of books, but also just about self-development in general, psychology in general. So because it's not just about knowing how your phone works. It's also, for example, about self-development and thinking to myself, how did you get out of it? What motivated you not to use your phone, or at least less? Not to focus on abstinence, but on moderation. So, and then, but now you see a lot of books are being published now about this topic, and I'm reading one by one, all of them. And you also see a lot of research now online about social media addiction, people sharing their stories about how they are annoyed by their own use, especially now with this pandemic going on, that they're using the screens a lot. So now there's a lot of information available. But yeah, there are no official digital wellness coach courses. They exist now. There I saw two already online, but there are not many of them, no.
Is it so much social media, or is it the phone? The phone itself. I have a question if that's the bigger problem, because when you're having a conversation with somebody and you see somebody scroll through their phone, or they see a text message or whatever, it's like, wow, they're not there, they're somewhere else. And so I know social media is a part of that, but that phone is the driver, isn't it?
True, is the apps on the phone. Is
Yeah.
the phone itself is not really addictive, is the apps, exactly. Are the features available on the phone, like the notifications, which enables all those apps to disturb you anytime those apps want. So it is exactly, it's a facilitator, the phone. It's with us all the time. Back in the day, when we're using MSN Messenger, we used to say BRB, be right back. Or we would just come a few hours later, we go back, we're in front of our computer, and then we're communicating with others. And that's how we were communicating. It was a novelty. But we don't say BRB anymore because we're always there. We're always online. We're always in a virtual world. Our phone is always with us. So yeah, the whole fact that we can now bring this device that can do a lot of things with us all the time, yes, has ensured that now everything is much worse than it was 10 years ago.
How do you tell the difference between addiction and healthy use?
If addiction is when you use your phone and you're just not happy after using your phone, you know that feeling, you feel this strong urge to use it. And then, for example, you go through this whole cycle. You go to first Twitter and then Facebook and then Snapchat. But then instead of just putting it away, you start the whole cycle again. So you go Twitter, you go Snapchat, and you go Facebook. So you feel you're being programmed by that phone. You want to look for the time, but you don't look for the time because there are so many other apps telling you, okay, well, you're on your phone, so check this out, and this app needs an update, or this person has sent you a message. So you're basically losing control. And if you want to stop using your phone less, but you can't, this is why sometimes I say it's not really about addiction, or maybe you're just a compulsive user, but it's all about, are you happy with your screen time? And then you want to ask yourself questions like, do you sleep with your phone? Is it underneath your pillow? Are your sleeping patterns now being disturbed? Is it by your side when you eat? Do people complain about the fact that you use your screens a bit too much? Your spouse, your family, your friends? Do you feel any negative thoughts that appear after you finish your social media session, whether it's like some sadness, some disappointment, some realization that you don't really have that self-esteem, or that you're lacking, or so could it be that? Or do you feel any physical problems like pain in the shoulder or eyes or neck? Or do you put yourself in dangerous situations? Do you use your phone in the car a lot? Or do you even put yourself in a dangerous situation just for that selfie? Because, sometimes, unfortunately, people die because they are standing on top of a mountain and they take a selfie, but then unfortunately they fall. So you really want to ask yourself those questions and be honest with yourself as well. Like, are you okay with your screen use? But also not so much how much, but also how you use it. Because now with this pandemic, we use our screens a lot. It's a fact. But are we happy with how we use it, why we use our screens? Because if I'm talking to 3 hours with a friend over the phone, that's fine. We have a good time. We are catching up. But if I'm just, or I have this feeling that I'm wasting time because I'm scrolling and I have this negative feeling, but I try to solve it with social media. But that basically just makes the whole feeling worse. That whole feeling of I need to escape life because I'm not really happy, and you're just reading the news. So you really want to be honest with yourself and just be self-aware. Like, am I using my screen way too much? And then it's okay. You don't need to be an addict. Or there are people who are very happy with their lives, but they just need a few tweaks in order for them to remind themselves, okay, I will stop using my phone now. But there are also a lot of people who just like lose themselves all the way, that their goals, their missions, their dreams in life are now being neglected because of that phone use. So that's also what you want to ask yourself. Are your relationships now being negatively impacted? Your studies, your goals, your tasks, your habits, your routines. So that's how you really want to evaluate your life and be honest with yourself.
Do you have any program, or do you help parents understand how to raise their kids to be healthy with their screen time? Because kids, I have 2 grandkids, and if we let them be on their iPads all day, they certainly would be.
Yes, I have a course that's for iPhone users. It teaches people how to use their phone, and it contains more tips about how to beat phone addiction, social media addiction. But also have a program that focuses on 6 steps, because I have this 6-step formula that I introduce to people. And it's also for families. So I try also to include tips specifically for children. I don't have children yet, but I know that for parents, this is a big issue because they use their phones a lot. There's no debate that children are using their screens way too much. So I also incorporate then tips and tricks for parents to implement, like screen time. The course that I offer, it contains information on how to set up screen time, because this can be a bit challenging. For me, it was also in the beginning to really learn how to work with screen time, how to install it on kids' phones, because you need this whole family sharing feature on the device that you need in order to set up screen time. Or Google has this digital well-being, has many parental controls. There are many apps also offering parental controls. So that even TikTok now has a few options dedicated to families and children. And parents really want to be aware of those features. So that's one of the steps of the 6 steps formula, which is the digital literacy part, to become aware of the features of your phone. How does tech work? Be aware of the dangers, the risks the digital world has to offer. So that's what I also explain and present in my free content on YouTube. I post daily videos on YouTube, just explaining about different topics regarding screen addiction for kids, for parents, for families. So yeah, but I know, a lot of people, they ask me, okay, what about kids? What about children? Because I always say we have to start with ourselves first, because there are a lot of children who complain about the fact that their parents also use their screens a lot. We think it's justified because we work, we have to check our emails, we have to check the news, what's going on in the world, but our kids don't know why we use our screens. And just because we think it's justified doesn't mean that they know. So when they see us all the time on our phones, then they will put devices on a pedestal. They will think, okay, iPhones or phones or screens, they are important. So if my parents are on their phones, it must be a big thing in the world. Like, you cannot live without anymore. So that's why I always focus on the adults, that they have their phone use in control, their social media use in control, so they can pass on those values to their children. And that's what the whole 6-step formula is about as well.
So what are the most dangerous things you're finding with these social media addictions?
That people outsource the fact that they are not able to be the biggest fan, but they allow others to be their biggest fans, so they feel good about themselves. You see, the huge danger is that people lose their self-esteem because they are scrolling and they see people enjoying themselves. They see those highlight reels, and not just their friends, also actors, celebrities, supermodels who have fit bodies, who look amazing, who travel a lot, who show a lot of money. So they compare themselves to those highlight reels. And that can be detrimental, because it will decrease their self-esteem, their confidence. So people, they post online, they create this online persona that they now have to invest in. They have to invest time and energy to create this persona that will hopefully attract likes, admiration, validation, positivity. And when they don't receive that, then they will feel bad about themselves. So they will feel good if other people feel good about them. Instead of being your own biggest fan, we are just our own biggest critic, and we just wait for that validation from other people to say something positive about ourselves. But when that doesn't happen, then we become depressed, we become lonely, we talk negatively to ourselves. So that's a huge danger, that you don't realize that what you see are just highlight reels, and that you don't want to neglect the real you, the real self, the offline version of you for that online persona. So that's a huge danger. Another one is that we think that what we see on social media is the reality, is the world, but it's not. It's a highly curated, sophisticated world created by the algorithms of the social media platform that creates a specific world just for you. Social media even knows you better than your spouse knows you, because your desires, your clicks, your interests, so the platform will know. And based on that, based on your behavior, they will show you content that will just make you click even more, that will make you even interested more, because then will stay on the platform more. So you think it's reality, but you think, okay, the world thinks like this, but it's not. It's just a very specialized world created just for you. And you're just then dive in that world without really asking yourself, is there maybe a flip side to the story, or just your beliefs are being reinforced? And that's also a danger. You meet people who believe the exact same thing as you, and that will be reinforced because you're just engaging with those people. Because back in the day, when you had this idea or a fantasy, not many people might share the same. But now online, you can always find someone who shares that same idea, and you can easily find them and then just engage with them and speak to them, and then it will just reinforce. And yeah, it rubs off on you, that effect of being in an online community environment where the same ideas are being repeated all the time. So that's a danger as well.
It seems like people noticing that people like to hone in on something that they agree with and don't want to hear something they disagree with, to the point of where, like, you know, if you disagree or you have another thought, like, I'll block you or I won't listen to you, and it's like, that seems to me like a very big danger too, because you're not opening yourself up to other viewpoints. And even if you think you're going to totally disagree, at least being willing to listen. Exactly.
True. But since there's a screen between us and the other people, it's easier to you think you're anonymous, so you just show that negativity easily. You see people say and become someone online that you would never think that person will become if you see him or her in the offline world. But somehow online, we are more emotional. There are no limits, no boundaries, no values. We just emotionally react to stories and opinions that we see, because we are protected by the screen. It's not a real environment. It looks like it's a fake environment where there are no repercussions or no responsibility is required. So yeah, and that's how people can show their dark side online.
If I am nervous about my screen time habits, you've come up with 6 steps to help people. What can you share about those?
So the first step is self-awareness, is first asking yourself, how much are you using your screens? And then you can use tracking apps on your phone that is going to show you how long you use your screens for how many hours. And then also understand what kind of emotions and thoughts appear when you go for your phone or when you are using your phone. How do you feel about your use? And you really need to also evaluate how it impacts your life, how it impacts your relationships, your day-to-day actions, and what is exactly wrong and how do you want to improve. So if phones are affecting relationships, how do you want to see your relationship? If it's affecting your productivity, so how do you want to see your productivity? How do you want to see the future? What kind of results do you want to gain? So first you want to understand your current position, where you are now. And then you want to also understand for yourself where you do want to go. So realize how your phone is blocking you in your life, what kind of aspects are being negatively impacted, and then tell yourself or ask yourself how you do want to see those aspects come to fruition. How do you want your life to look like? So self-awareness is all about being aware of your phone use, how much, and what your thoughts are, emotions, and how it impacts your life. And then the second is insight. So insight is all about understanding basically what we spoke about just now as well. How social media is attracting us to stay online. Why are we online after 4 hours if we just wanted to stay for a half hour? Also, what are detrimental effects of excessive phone and social media use? How is it affecting our emotions, psychology, our body, physical effects? You want to learn about those as well. So it's going to motivate you to reduce your phone use. If you understand that, you were always hunched over, it's not good for the neck or not good for our eyes, you want to understand how to hold your phone. You really want to become aware of that. And again, also how social media is luring all of us to just stay online and what's going on, that we invest in this persona, as I explained, and that social media really wants us to stay 24/7 online. You really want to become aware of that. So that's insight. Then step 3 is about digital literacy. So it's all about explaining how tech works. We're all going to keep our smartphone. Some of us will use a dumb phone. Some of us will use a flip phone. But many of us will keep using our iPhone. I still have an iPhone. So if we still use our phones, but we keep complaining about it, then we might as well just learn how to use our phones. If we use social media, maybe for the good, maybe for branding or business purposes, then let's at least learn how to use social media, learn about the features, learn about the privacy settings, the security settings. And there are many options that we don't know. So you really want to understand how to use devices and social media. And also you want to learn about tech, about the internet, learn about the dangers, learn about deepfakes, fake news, then creating new passwords. You want to become, you don't want to be a digital dinosaur. You really want to become tech savvy. Just because children are digital natives doesn't mean that they know how to use internet properly. So digital literacy is all about learning about tech, the dangers, the risks, and also how our phones and social media work. Then the next one, step 4, is about tech habits, screen habits, digital habits. So this phase is all about taking action. For example, you've learned about the do not disturb feature or dark mode, for example. Now you will understand and think about when are you going to use these features. You're going to think about no phone zones. You're going to think about phone lounges. So for example, the no phone zone, when are phones allowed and when are they not allowed? They can be in bedrooms, but when you're going to bed, when you're going to sleep, they should not be allowed in the bedroom. Same thing for the dining area. They can be in the dining area when you don't eat, but when you eat, it should be a no phone zone. No phones allowed. Have a phone lounge is what I call a phone lounge. So when no phones are allowed, already understand where you're going to leave your phone. So, and as a family, you want to have a dedicated place where you leave all your phones. You can charge your phones at the same time, but understand where that lounge is going to be, whether it's in the house or in the office. So it's all about digital detox maybe, or a no tech hour. Have these rules. And if you have a family, you want to create a family plan where you discuss these rules. When are phones allowed? When are screens allowed? There are many strategies like don't use the cord, the cable, the charging cable. For example, when you use a laptop, you have 2 hours to use the laptop, and then it's up to you how you're going to use that time on the laptop. So or wallpaper, for example. Put a quote on the wallpaper of the phone that says, don't pick me up, for example. There are many of these ideas that you can introduce to reduce your phone use. So that's all about digital habits. That's number 4. The number 5 is all about embrace life. So I always say it's not about pushing your phone away, but about finding something that attracts you, that pulls you away from your phone. And that's activities. That's what I mean about embrace life. You want to take on activities by yourself or with friends or with family. For example, now I am into modern board gaming. I played board games with myself now during this pandemic for the first time. And when you're immersed in such an experience, for example, you don't think about your phone. So you really want to think about activities to take on that makes you forget about your phone, indoors and outdoors. And then step number 6 is embrace thyself. So that's all about me, myself, and I. It's all about self-development. You want to progress. You want to develop yourself. You want to learn, for example, about mindfulness. The more you learn about mindfulness, the more you will be able to catch yourself when you want to go for your phone, for example, when you are on your phone. That whole cycle that I mentioned in the beginning, that people take their phones without any reason. There is no notification. No one is calling, but you just take your phone because of some external trigger. For example, you're in a supermarket, or a notification, or because of an internal trigger, just because you're bored or you're sad and you just go for your phone. Catch yourself when you go for your phone. Understand that, okay, I'm in a supermarket, I'm bored, I'm waiting in a queue, that's why I go for my phone. Or I'm on a couch, I'm sad, oh, that's why I go for my phone. So you really want to, the more mindful you become, the more space you have, the freedom of choice to tell yourself, you know what, I'm not going to go for my phone. I want to go for my phone, but I don't want to. It's not a good idea, especially when you're engaging with someone, or you are doing you're taking on an activity with a friend or with a family member. You don't want to use your phone. So if you have that space, if you are mindful, then you can catch yourself and then tell yourself, no, I'm not going for my phone. And that's how you will reduce phubbing. Phubbing is that you take your phone when you're engaging with someone. So when you're talking to someone, the person is talking to you, but you take your phone because of a notification, and then you're phubbing the person. So that's all about mindfulness, being mindful, using your phones mindfully. And that's part of self-development. You don't want to forget about your dreams. You want to work on your routines, on your habits, because if you become more confident, what I said, like you learn to become your own biggest fan. You don't wait to feel good because other people will tell you your hair looks good, or you look amazing, or you seem like to be a good cook because of this dish you posted. But you want to become your own biggest fan. So that's what you want to work on. And the more you can see life from a macro level, the more you understand that social media is a waste of time a lot of times, that using our screen so much is a waste, that there's so much that we can do in the offline world, but that we basically spend so much time on this online persona, on scrolling, on doom scrolling now, that we scroll through the news and we feel bad. We really want to know what's going on, and then it rubs off on us. So you really don't want to forget to work on yourself. So that's the last step. That step alone already is huge, because when you really have something to work on, like I had to with the website, I really wanted to build a website. I had this purpose, this objective, and I really had to now think about prioritizing my time because of that purpose. Then you really realize that using phones is a waste if you do it too much. Because when you prioritize, when you have your priorities set, you now can focus on those priorities. Because if you don't have those priorities that comes from purpose, then your energy is just so scattered. It's all over the place. And when it's all over the place, it's easy for your phone to demand your time, to demand your attention and focus, because you don't really know what to do with your time if you don't really plan it. And that's why it's important to work on yourself, and of course have those activities with yourself and your family members and with friends. So that's why I have this whole 6 steps formula, because it's not just about knowing how to enable the do not disturb feature. It's not about just playing board games or do something else. It's really about understanding and having a level of motivation that make you realize that there's just so much out there aside from social media and smartphones.
And those steps would be continuously needing to be worked on, or at
Yes.
least addressed. And the last one about self-improvement, my goodness, that's a lifetime thing. So
yeah,
those are awesome.
Like the tech talk that we have with our children, it's ongoing. You know, the tech talk is always, has to be done every week, I think, because it goes so fast. New apps are being introduced. Tech goes so fast. It seems like we cannot even catch up. Like many of us are not really aware. Internet just suddenly appeared, and now it's so pervasive we cannot use without. But do we really understand the internet? That's the question.
Something that caught my attention when I was hearing you talk is like being present. And like when I hear what you're saying, it's like if you're across from somebody and you can tell they have your presence, it's such a gift. And like we live in a world there, it's hard to get someone's presence because there's always distractions.
True. Yeah. Oh, definitely. And that's, for example, that's connected to phubbing, that someone is basically thinking about a smartphone, for example, and not really in the present. Yeah, you can tell. There's just so much distraction out there. The world it goes so fast now. Life goes so fast. There's so many thoughts in our minds, so many things we're thinking about, so many worries that we have. And yes, it's a blessing when you can land in the moment with someone else.
Johann, how can people get more information or find you if they're looking?
You can go to socialmediabreakup.com, and there you can find my Twitter link, my Instagram. They're different. Twitter is phone breakup and Instagram is tech breakup. And then my course is on Udemy, but if you go to my website, then you'll see the link to the iPhone course.
And even though you're in Dublin, you're a worldwide helper, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah. You see, that's why there's an advantage to screens.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's
Awesome.
possible. Yeah.
Johann, thank you so much for being on our podcast today. We have thoroughly enjoyed and loved having you.
No, thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fitz Rock Podcast. The music you are hearing is Swim with Wild Musical Instruments by Your My Muse. Copyright 2019 and licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial License. Until next time, have a fantastic life.